Ciao a tutti e benvenuti ad un altro episodio delle Interview X. Anche quest'oggi abbiamo un ospite inglese, Landon Porter, come me l'avrete sentito nominare un sacco di volte. Quest'oggi parleremo di vendite della maniera corretta, ovviamente per vendere, e tutto quello che io so riguardo l'attrazione di clienti, riguardo le vendite, me l'ha insegnato questo signore qui accanto. Quindi mi raccomando, ascoltate attentamente, prendete appunti e non lesinate sulle domande. Adesso passiamo in inglese. So here we have Landon Porter, aka the sales gorilla. One for me, and I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but for me, it changed the way I started doing lead gen. I started selling to people, and it really impacted positively my revenue. Thanks to the tips that I've seen on this group, one of the best groups, in my opinion, around in the digital marketing space in the US. But as usual, I'll let him introduce himself. Hey, Landon.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me on again. It's been too long to introduce myself. This is always the weird part for me. So I spent about 15 years in sales. 10 of those years were in corporate sales, like big corporate sales, Fortune 1000 globally. And I found a little trick for myself to sell against all of the people who were just the hardcore salespeople. And there's a longer story in there, but I've been a sales guy for now about 18 years. And we're in the relationship economy. People want to be treated differently. And if you treat them differently, it's much easier to get into a conversation with them and identify if they've got a problem you can solve. And then the way I do it, we don't go for the yeses or the nos. We give them permission to work with us in a very non-douchebag kind of way. So that's what I do. That's kind of how I do it.
And it works. And I can confirm it works. Even if the first time you hear what Landon says, it might kind of sound counterintuitive, because usually you've been indoctrinated with the fact that in order to sell, you need to be or act like a specific person or in a specific way. But the trick that I've learned from Landon is that actually you have to be yourself, and people will want to work with you because you are yourself. That's the mindset shift that actually helped me a lot, because I was always trying to please the potential clients, to please the prospect, and it ended out that yes, I would please them, I would sell, I would close them. But the relationship wouldn't go that well, because they didn't want to work with me. They just wanted to have the promises I made, that usually, you make those promises just because you need to sell, and that doesn't work. So the first question I have for you, Landon, is what can you say to someone that says, okay, but if I'm being myself, I won't sell. Like if I am myself, people just won't like me. What would you say to that?
I would say that you're not looking at the world the right way. You wouldn't date somebody with the intention of marrying them and having kids if you didn't like them, right? There's a very small percentage of people on this planet that nobody likes. Mm-hmm. And I mean like 0.0002% of the entire population globally has no friends, right? And part of that is because they're not actually being themselves. This concept that I came up with mm-hmm. is not a thing that I created. This is just how the world works. Salespeople are trained to manufacture relatability, and that's how we get know, like, and trust, so we can eventually close them on our thing. But you've all probably heard about this thing called the bullshit meter, right? Us humans have this innate part of us that senses something's just not right. And if we're just being ourselves and we connect with somebody, that's natural relatability. That's how it happens in the real world. Mm-hmm. Totally different than selling to somebody. When you do take the leap of faith and you just say, okay, fine, I'm going to just be who I am and how I am, and either they like me or they don't, your world will drastically change.
And it's also the way that's also kind of subconscious change that happens, because you start treating people and expecting to be treated in a different way. When that happens, it's not hard to say no. when that happens, you start, like, people think that the important thing is saying yes, but the hard thing is actually saying no. The important thing in sales usually it's saying no to people, and you don't turn them off. You just let them know that's a no go for you, and that you're open to do anything they ask for, because that's, you're not an employee. They are your clients. They are buying a service they might want, and if they can take a no straight, like on something, then probably you don't want to work with them. It's going to be really, really stressful. And at the end of the day, people don't realize you just need 4, 5, 6, 7 clients. You don't need to have 55 of them. It's not by having 55 clients a month on month one that people achieved what they claim they have achieved. You need to go step by step, and that always has worked for me. But your analogy between sales and dating is what a few years ago got me into this, saying, okay, man, that's this, social acuity, positive indifference, all of that from the pickup game rang a bell. I mean, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I've mentioned the concepts of social acuity and positive indifference in the group, but I'm pretty sure you can give a much more detailed and straight to the point explanation of how those two concepts are important to try to sell organically without being a douche canoe, as you say.
So social acuity is the ability to read a room and then use that information to know how to operate in that room. Think of it like this. When you go to a barbecue, or you go to a new friend's big family gathering, and you only know 1 or maybe 2 people there, but you don't know anybody else there, your best bet is to kind of sit back and pay attention and watch and observe to get a better understanding of how the people there are before you jump right in. And I liken it to you wouldn't go over to a new friend's house and walk in the living room floor and just whip it out and take a leak on their living room carpet in front of the kids and the elderly people, right? We all know better than that, hopefully. But that's kind of what a lot of people unconsciously do when it comes to selling and dealing with prospects, specifically when it's face-to-face, because most of the communication's not done verbally, right? Mm-hmm. Social acuity is the ability to read a room so you can then operate in that room the right way. And positive indifference is, go back in your mind to when you were in high school and college and you were dating, and you fit into one of 3 categories. Either everybody thought you were the shit and everybody wanted to be with you, and you didn't know why and you didn't really care, or you were probably like most of us, where you're like trying to find a date and like it gets weird and it's hard. And then the third category is the super, super desperate people. Well, that first category is a thing that happens when you start dating somebody and you're like kind of head over heels for them that first couple of weeks, maybe the first month or 2. All of a sudden, if you're paying attention, these other people around you are like now interested in you. It's because you're not focused on getting them interested in you. You're focused on something else, and by that very nature, they're now interested in you. Positive indifference is, yeah, you look fun, you look cool, I would totally dig that, but I'm not going to chase you. And it's a state of mind up here. And when positive indifference is actually felt by you because you're being this way, what it means is you remove all attachment to any specific outcome. And prospects and new clients can totally feel that. The fastest thing that'll kill a sale is being needy. And when we're not positively indifferent, we're chasing that yes, or we're pursuing that no, however you want to call it, they can sense that, they can feel it. So social acuity and positive indifference are the 2 main ingredients in selling.
And the positive indifference, to me, I learned about it the first time I interviewed. Oh, by the way, you're the only person I've interviewed more than once, and this is the 3rd time. Just saying. Yep. And the first time I interviewed, we did the interview. We were both starting out in the Facebook group space, and what immediately got me was the concept of positive indifference, and because I realized I started selling email marketing in the spammy way, in the affiliate marketing space, where you just go in people's DMs and say, hey man, I'm selling this, I know you need it, I'm the best, please buy this, here is the link. Which is basically, I remember from the first interview, he said that's basically like stopping anyone on the street, putting a hand on their face and say, hey man, buy my product. And they've never seen you before, they have no idea who you are, and you sound extremely desperate. And applying positive indifference means you never sound desperate in any case, in any situation, for whatever reason. And that gives the prospect, the person you're talking to, they are kind of, you throw them off. Like, they don't expect usually that reaction. And that, in some cases, it's because you might be interesting and cool. But if you're not interesting and cool, and because you don't know how to do it, but you are really applying this kind of concept, you throw them off anyhow. And they might think you're interesting and cool, even if you're not. And that works. That really, really works both offline and online. Now I have, I want to ask a different question, which is, what do you think, based on your experience in the last 2-3 years in the digital marketing space, what's the worst way to sell?
The worst way to sell is to make a bunch of assumptions that you know what somebody needs. And you're going to tell them, right? You're going to fix their world, and they're wrong and they're stupid and they don't know what they're doing. And making those kinds of assumptions. I want to tie that question back to what I wanted to say a minute ago when you were talking about connecting with people. And it's this piece. Most people with a thing to sell treat the prospect as the prospects up here, like almost on a pedestal. The whole trying to please them, going for the yes, trying to get them talked into the thing puts them on a pedestal. The people that you're communicating with, whether they run the corner little grocery deli store or they run a top 5 or 10 company on the planet, those people are just like us. They put their clothes on the same way. They've got the same kind of personal issues, right? They're just regular people. And that whole positive indifference piece of it keeps us from putting them on a pedestal and allows them to see that we're just a regular person, just like they are. And how this works with the question that you just asked is people can see through all of the bullshit, right? The worst way to sell is make assumptions that I'm wrong, make assumptions that I haven't made good decisions, make assumptions that I don't know anything about something, and then treat me like an imbecile. That's typically what happens online. You and I've seen it a lot. You show up in somebody's private messages and just send them a 17-paragraph bullshit thing about, hey, you got to buy this thing. It's amazing. And oh my God, da-da-da-da. Please. Fuck that.
Absolutely. And it's like the same comparison as the people don't, like when you have even someone that's trying to raise money for a charity offline, okay, in the real world, you see them, they're trying to get a signature, they're trying to raise $5 for even a good cause. You dodge them. You just dodge them. You don't want to have to hear it. And the same thing happens when you do it on the reverse online. Like you are the guy that's trying to raise $5 for charity and you're never going to do it. I mean, it happens that you might send 350 cold messages on Messenger and you get that client, but that doesn't mean you're good at selling. That means that client was fucking desperate and they just didn't know where to throw the money and they had to throw the money. So they threw it at you. And yeah, it might work in terms of revenue, but doesn't work in terms of sustainable lead stream, sustainable client stream, sustainable revenue. That doesn't work at all. But people don't really realize it because most of them are actually afraid. Like before even getting to the point where you need to deploy positive indifference, people are afraid to sell. In all of your years of experience, why do you think people are afraid to sell?
Because they're looking at it the wrong way. I'm trying to get this person to give me their money. I'm trying to get this person to say yes. I'm trying to get this person's approval of who I am, what I do, and what I could do for them. And that's the whole idea with positive indifference. We're not looking for approval. I don't need anybody's approval. I'm looking to connect with people that I actually get along with so I can actually be interested in helping them that comes off totally different. I want to kind of use an analogy about what you just talked about. You guys in Italy have a lot of olive trees, right? Like that's big thing in Italy.
Yes.
And when you plant an olive tree or an olive bush, it doesn't grow overnight, right? And if you're going to make olive oil, it doesn't make sense to plant an olive tree and then tomorrow go rip it up and plant another one, and the day after that go rip it up, and right? It makes sense to plant that plant, water it, nurture it, take care of it while you're planting other olive trees. And eventually, after a while, now you've got all these olive trees that are mature. They've been taken care of. They provide fruit. Here's the biggest thing people don't understand about client acquisition. It is so much harder to go get a new client than it is to take care of a current client and continue getting paid by that current client. You said at the beginning of this, you only really need 3 or 4 or 5 clients, right? Most of us don't need 55 clients. If you do, and that's you, and you've got an agency, that's a little bit different, but still you need 50 or 60 clients. You don't need 1,500, right? You don't need to go get new clients. And this is the thing this is my whole stance. It's so much harder to go get a new client every month or every 2 or 3 months than it is to get a client and take care of them. And by doing that, they take care of you, and they take care of you beyond just what you are doing with them. That's probably the second most awful thing that I see in the sales world is we really only need a few clients. And if we do the thing we do well and we take care of them, they'll introduce us to all their friends, right? Some of them will even introduce us to their competitors, right? There's a lot of ways to really nurture that olive tree. Because I don't know about you, but I want to eat this month, but I want to eat next month, and I want to eat the month after that. And we're all, to an extent, we're all really smart monkeys. And because of that, we don't really want to work harder than we have to, right? And I'm not talking about being motivated or not. I'm talking about being leveraged with our time and our energy and our effort. And by the very nature of that, it's so much easier to take care of an olive tree than it is to try and plant 100 of them, right? And scurry around trying to figure out which one's going to give me the fruit the fastest. It's just, the mentality's wrong.
And that's what I had a weird conversation a few months ago where someone asked me how did you get to how did it happen that you have so many nice projects ongoing, so many, like, are you working with so many nice people and all of that? How did you do it? And I'm like, well, man, I've been, in the last 2 years, I've helped countless people for free. Like, literally, you needed help. Good, let's do it. I've refused to get paid multiple times. Like, I've turned down, like, I'm gonna pay you for the 45 minutes. I'm like, no, man, I don't want the money. Like, don't worry, I'll help you. You'll need the help someday. If you're going to repay me, you're going to repay me. I don't want that. I don't want to close that. I don't need it. I really don't want to get in that type of relationship, because then when money gets involved, the relationship changes. And if I want the relationship to change, I want it to change when I want it to change, not when you want it to change. And this guy was like, yeah, but that's not going to work. I mean, that works for you, that doesn't work. And I'm like, well, that's not actually true. If you check all the best marketers around, they, like the really well-known ones, they are helping people, like the good ones, the real ones. If you look up to, I don't know, on Facebook ads, who've been around for a lot, and you look out for John Loomer, if you check his blog, he's been putting out content for a long time. Check Neil Patel, same thing. Recently, Tim Bird and Dipesh Mandalia, same thing. And when I say to people, I mean, go on Facebook groups and legitimately help out people, I mean legitimately help out people, like actually help them, not, yeah, you do this, but if you need to know more, write me private. And I'm like, no, that's not helping out. That's trying to move the conversation from the dinner table to the motel room and trying to force yourself on them. And that's not going to convert. That's not going to work. And as you said, the olive tree analogy is perfect, because it's a lead that you need to nurture. It's not necessary. I mean, you might be lucky and you get the guy that was looking exactly for you and you were there exactly at the same time. But statistically, that's not going to be even 10% of your sales. That's going to be just a really, really small part. But if you actually help them and you nurture them and they get to know you, like they get really to know you, why you're doing it. You're not just there because you have to repeat that 3 minutes, that elevator pitch to everyone, and you keep repeating the elevator pitch. And if someone is interested, you have the 3-4 automatic responses, and at a certain point, someone is going to figure it out. It's going to be, hey man, but didn't you say the same thing to that guy over there? And I'm like, yeah, but that's how we do it. And quoting Gary Vee that I do often in the group, like, best marketing strategies care, and it's true. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to care for someone you don't like or someone you don't like. It means caring, like caring for what you like and caring for what you want to do. Before, when we were exchanging calls, consultants, and so on and so forth, we really focused on just getting the clients. Okay, we got the ICA, but we got it wrong. We thought anyone that has that type of budget, that is looking for that type of result, they need to work with us. We can work with them. We can help them. But that's not even, that's too broad. That's not even, right now I just want to work with cool projects. So if you have budget, I don't care. I've had a porn website asking me to run ads for them or do the marketing strategy for them. They had an amazing budget. And I was like, nah, man, I don't do that. Like, that's the thing. I don't want to, it's not going to help me 5 to 6 years from now, 10 years from now. It's not that I put on the resume, I've helped this porn website double their monthly visitors. That's not going to help. I'd rather help, even for free, a cool startup that has a good team behind, and in 2 years from now, they might get the funding they need to afford me. So that's the shift I made back then. That's the shift I keep making it, and trying to focus on. And that helped me a lot, which leads to my next question, which I don't think we have the time to cover in depth, but I don't think 2 hours will be enough. 3 hours will be enough to cover in depth. But everyone in the group heard me at least 14 times mentioning the ICA, so the ideal client avatar. I took your post, I translated it in Italian, I provided everything, and I send them over to your group to understand better what the ICA means. But I would love a practical example from you, Landon.
Sure. So the ICA, I don't know which post that you grabbed, but most of them don't have the full story, and I'll keep this short. Halfway through my sales career, I recognized one morning early when I was getting ready to go to work that I was just miserable. I literally said to myself in the mirror, I hate you, to myself, because my life was so miserable. And it was miserable because I had a bunch of clients that I couldn't stand. I didn't really like them. And the hoops they made me jump through, and the just nonsense of dealing with people that I was obligated to work with. The sales industry that I came from, when I brought on a new client, I had to then manage their account ongoing. And I had an active book of clients of over 400 people, which in that industry that I came from wasn't that huge. But the kind of clients that I had, one of those clients accounted for 82 different locations. And the long story short is, I recognized that I was just like literally miserable. I keep this old ratty beat up chair because one day I had it in my hands standing in my office, and I was going to throw it through the window and jump out of the building because I was that miserable. And what it came down to was the people that I had to deal with every day, all day long. And the longer story short, it occurred to me that I don't like most of these people. What's the difference between working with those people versus working with these people? Because I had some clients that I genuinely liked. And I was like, why do I care about these guys? Like, why are they important to me? And I don't mind working for them. And these people I can't stand. And it came down to these people that I liked working with shared my values, right? If they scheduled a call with me, they were there and on time. If they said they were going to get me something by a certain date, they did it. They followed through. And it occurred to me that the people that I liked working with saw the world the way I did. They were interested in many of the same things that I was interested in. They had the same basic values that I did, right? I had clients that would go out of town to conferences and cheat on their spouses, and they would like talk about that like it was a cool thing. Like that just, right? Why am I having to deal with these people? So long story short, I came up with this process, the ideal client avatar. And it came from Frank Kern. I would imagine many of the people in here are familiar with Frank. Back in the early 2010s. In fact, I think it was 08, 09, 2010. He did a talk in front of a live audience about core influence. And he described his perfect ideal client avatar. Dude's in his mid 40s. He's a insurance sales guy. He's got a wife and 2 kids. He wears khaki pants and and he had a name for him. And I was like, fuck, this makes so much sense. And so I took that and adjusted it, and I started with my values, right? If you're totally good with abusing animals or cheating on your spouse or bad value stuff, that's cool, but that ain't me. And I don't want people in my world that are like that. But more so than that, it came down to how they worked with me. Do what you say you're going to do. Follow through. If you tell me yes, don't come back to me tomorrow and say, well, we don't think so. Like that kind of stuff, right? And this idea of ideal client avatar kind of grew out of that. And what I found was that here's my take on it. Some people will, some people won't. Who cares? Meaning some people will like you naturally and some people won't. Who cares? If you can identify what is it that you like in other people, guess what? Those values that you like in them are the values that they're looking for in other people. This makes connecting with people immediate and automatic, and there's no try. It just naturally happens. And what's really cool about this is when you go about looking at potential new clients through this lens, you don't have to sell. It just happens automatically. And what you find generally is you start a conversation and we both think we're going to be talking about business, but within 10 or 15 minutes, we're off talking about this other shit that has nothing to do with business. And here's another little tie-in. More percentage-wise business globally is done on golf courses than everything else combined, including networking events. And the reason for that is because the people that do big, big, big business don't talk about business. They go do an event, they go do a thing, they go to a show, and they have regular interested conversation about what's going on in life. And then, oh yeah, by the way, that deal that we need to get done, let's spend 3 minutes talking about it. Because that's how humans do this naturally. So that was kind of the long intro into this. Here's the bottom line. You get to choose who it is that you work with. And you get to tell the people that you don't want to work with, no. And when you really understand this, it gives you positive indifference automatically because it allows you to say, yeah, I would totally love to work with you and you're really friggin' cool. I can do that thing for you. Would you like to do that together? And they always say yes. Whereas the people that you're like, God, this guy's kind of a shithead. Like, I don't want to, like, if I'm paying attention, and they're usually little itty bitty small things, they're called red flags. You see them, you notice them, and you go, I don't know if I want to work with that guy, right? He showed up late and he forgot my name and he didn't bring his information. He wasn't prepared. Like, obviously I'm not that important. Don't work with that guy, right? You get to choose. An ideal client avatar is a simple little process that walks you through from values to what you will and won't tolerate and everything in between. And once you see who they are, you can't unsee it. So that's that's the idea behind ideal client avatar.
And making it's really hard. I've taken the ebook you made about the ideal client avatar. The small PDF and translated it all and transformed it into a post. And no one actually posted theirs, so no one actually put their own real made persona. And that was weird for me, but I tried. It's the oldest announcement post that still stands in the group, and it's never going to go down, because when anyone needs anything about sales, yes, that one, exactly that one. That's exactly the post I made. It's pretty long because I took everything, I had to translate it, fix it, and put it on and put it on the post. And I realized not that long ago, a few months ago, that actually once you start working with once you have it clear in mind for a long time, your ICA, once you start working only with your ICA, everyone else that's outside of the ICA, even if you don't want it, like even if it's not conscious, even if you're not choosing to, you are just gonna drive them away. You just don't really like it. And to this point, to add something to this point, is that and there was a moment where I had space for one more client, and one was a young guy with a nice family-owned business, really like good reputation, good thing, and really good drive. They didn't have that much budget. It's a physical business, family-owned, fixed costs are high, no digital, therefore you don't have much to spend. And there was another startup looking to work with me, and the guy I didn't really get along with the CEO, just for personal reasons, for exactly some posts I didn't like on the Facebook page, that kind of things that, if that comes out at dinner, it's gonna go bad, because I'm not just gonna hold back. If you ask for my opinion, I'll give you my fucking opinion. So I'm not sure we're gonna get along. And I'm still working with the young guy, and I'm actually charging, I don't know, 20% of what anyone else would get asked for that price. But that's a good relationship, and he keeps paying. It's not even asking for a renewal. There is no conversation about, next month I'm gonna renew. I sometimes forget to send the invoices, and I'm like, hey man, sorry, I forgot the invoice for last month. Here it is. Yeah, don't worry about it. Paid. No one asked for, do you want to renew? Do you want to keep going? It's obvious. That's more than just the client. It's a real relationship, which gets to the point where you don't use the word closing clients, but starting the relationship. And I think that it's really important in terms of the language you use, of the way you actually depict that type of interaction, because you made me notice that closing is actually, something that ends, something that's done, but actually closing is sale in this case. Allow me the term because I don't know what else to use. It's about starting a new relationship. It's about starting an actual ongoing relationship, because as you said, maintaining the client or retaining the client takes a lot less effort than actually getting a new one. So in terms of these stuff, so the retention of the client in terms of relationship, and in terms of these aspect of the sale. So the sale is not just the sale; it's the continuing the relationship and keeping it healthy. Do you have some practical tips about that kind of about this stuff, like maintaining the relationship well?
Mm-hmm. I do, and there's a couple of questions in the comments that I'd like to answer to here in a minute.
Absolutely.
Here's the most important thing. If you're more interested in your clients actually succeeding than you are in the paycheck from your clients, you will automatically find other ways that you can help them. This is Jay Abraham's, I forget what it's called. It's preeminence, but it's theory of, or the practice of. What it comes down to is they and their success is the most important thing. And that allows you to start identifying other ways that you can help them. It allows you to see other areas, even outside of your expertise, that they could be bettered, and you can make introductions. And it comes down to this one core principle: being actually interested in them and their lives and their families and their ultimate long-term vision of why they're in business. Now, that automatically kind of disqualifies some people that you would work with to begin with, because there are a lot of people that are in it for the wrong reasons. And because if you're honest with yourself, If they're in their business for the wrong reason, maybe somebody took over their father's business and they just don't really like it. They don't really care. They don't, right? It's just, I'm doing this because it was my dad's business and mom's still alive and I don't want to let her down. You're never going to succeed there. But the practical ways to maintain a client relationship long-term will always come back to communication. It will always come back to communication. And I'm in my mid 40s. I'm not as young as a lot of people that are probably watching this, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've had a lot of experience in client relationships and intimate relationships, and you can get through and you can fix everything with communication. Open, honest, clear, direct communication. And if you're interested in your clients more than you're interested in the pay from your clients, they will actually pay you more money, but they will also open up to you about what actually is wrong. So that kind of, if you're good with that, Enrico, that kind of leads me to answering this first question from Tommaso. Am I saying that right, Tommaso?
Yeah, that's right. That's our podcast guy.
Cool. So the audio podcast, audiobooks market is growing every day more and more. In your opinion, what kind of impact will it have in the sales process? I want to really drive this point home to you guys. We all think that what we do is selling our thing. Sales and marketing is like sex and dating. And when you end up in a really good relationship, the dating went really, really well, and the sex just naturally happened, right? Generally, a one-night stand where it's you make eye contact, you smile at each other, you're both half drunk because you've been at the club, and you end up in bed together. The next day, if you speak with each other, you probably find out that, I don't know if I really like her or him, right? But when we date, that's the marketing piece. 99% of getting the sale done is marketing. And that means not just marketing to the masses to get a client. When you go look at a business, if you go do this face-to-face, local marketing, you go look at a business and go, man, their storefront's totally clean. Their sign's on point. Their branding looks good. It looks like they really give a shit about their business. And then you go into the store and it's all like totally amazing. They're pre-framing you about their business. They're conveying a bunch of information to you about their business. If you're paying attention to that and you're like, man, this is really friggin' cool, all of that communication that you're giving back is marketing. That changes how you start a conversation with them. That conversation that you think is sales, all the way up until that question, hey, Bob, you want to work together? That's all marketing. So I said all that to say this. Almost all of the stuff we think is sales is actually marketing. And if we can do the marketing piece of it well, the sale just happens automatically. And how I think the audio and the podcast and the audiobooks will impact that in the sales process, all that stuff's marketing. What we're doing right here is marketing. Whether you like me or not doesn't matter. Whether you think what I do is cool or the right way or a good way doesn't matter. I'm providing you the information for you to go, that's cool, or I don't like this guy. Either way is totally cool, but what I'm doing is I'm marketing because I'm giving you enough information to begin making your own conclusions that will allow you to come to your own decision. Does that make sense? So if we can see what it is that we're doing in the prospecting part as marketing, and that's dating, and if we can then see that dating that goes amazingly well almost always leads to amazing sex and usually a long-term relationship, sales gets really easy. It's all marketing, all of it, right? What they look like, how they sound, how they talk to their employees, right? How they smell, which is weird, but it's true, right? All of these things that we naturally are attracted to is good marketing. And your prospects are feeling the exact same thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And on the pre-framing part, having amazing content online, having great quality, which doesn't mean just having it looking nice, but that's actually useful, whether it is an ebook, whether it is a post, whether it is a podcast. That's telling them, hey man, this is how I roll. So that's part of the marketing aspect, but you can pre-frame you can pre-qualify potential clients just by making sure that your style of content is correct. That's one of the reasons why nothing in our group is perfect. If you want everything perfect, that's not the group, man. I'm not the perfect guy. I don't make things perfect all the time. I do make some things really well, but perfection is just a hoax. So nothing here is perfect. And if that bothers you, you're in the group. And that's what we've always said. So thanks, Landon.
Yep, absolutely. Alex says, ever been in a situation where you like a client a lot, worked together for years, you're sure he, she is your ICA, and then at some point down the road, something in them changes. They want to spend less money. There's friction on the ideas on how to work, what to work on, getting the feeling that it's maybe time to let him, her go. Yes, it's called evolution. And that's another point I want to bring up about your ideal client avatar. We all evolve. We all change. The only thing that never changes is the fact that everything changes. They change, you change, what you're doing together changes. And I see it like this. Humans by nature are, to an extent, monogamous creatures, right? We generally tend to want to mate for life. Part of that is nature, part of that is nurture, right? It's kind of like we're indoctrinated to we should find a partner and stay together. We're not all like that, right? I'm totally like that. I want to know exactly who she is and that's the deal. But there are other people that like to have variety, right? This is cool for 3 years and then I'm bored and I want to move on. That happens in client relationships too. There's two things that you can do to deal with that. And they both start with communication. You can have a heart-to-heart conversation and really get to the bottom of how come this doesn't seem like this works anymore. And if you're okay with losing the client, you can really get to the heart of the matter. This is preeminence. This is really understanding what's going on. Like, how come we're not on the same page anymore, right? You might find out that she can't stand the fact that when you use the toothpaste that you always leave some toothpaste on there. So by the time it's halfway gone, the cap is all full of gunked up toothpaste. And she never said that. She just couldn't stand that. Your client may have some of those same issues. There's these little things that you think like nothing's wrong with that, but all of a sudden it's worn on them and there's 2 or 3 of them. That's usually the case. If you can get that shit out on the table and figure it out, now you're closer, stronger, et cetera, et cetera. In many cases, you will find out, if you're open to hearing it, that they don't think you're as interested in them and their business as you are in the money. And therefore, they don't think that you're doing as good a job as you could. And if you're willing to hear that and really get to the bottom of it, a lot of times you can turn those relationships into the most amazing long-term relationships. The other thing that you can do is maybe you've evolved. Maybe what you see is the right way to do things. They don't, and you haven't communicated it effectively. And either you have the opportunity now to communicate that effectively, or maybe it's time for you to find somebody else to partner up with. And the best case scenario for that is to find a replacement for yourself and make a warm introduction and help them through that transition. Because even though they're not working for you anymore, they really have a lot of respect for you now. That's my suggestions. That's how I would do it. You're welcome, Tommaso.
That's and bottom line also is that everything comes down to communication. Even the toothpaste comes down to communication. Usually that it's just that, which is I don't know if it happened to anyone, but to me it did actually happen pretty much like that. Where you're like, I'm not the perfect guy. I'm not organized in real life. I'm organized in business, not necessarily in real life. But you communicate and you fix it. It's by not communicating it that it becomes big. If you just say it up front, you're like, okay, I got it. The next 5 times it's going to happen. I'll try to do my best. give me the time just to adjust, and I'll change, and everything's going to go fine. And the same happens with the clients, even though sometimes it's not a change that, I mean, it's due to you. I mean, it might be due to the fact that the client had personal issues, change of mind, whatever happened, business happened, life happened, and then you're not obligated anymore to work with them. If you don't like them, you can just go. It's usually better when you go. People are just afraid that, well, yeah, but nobody keeps paying, and I'm going to lose the money. No, you're not going to lose the money. I mean, it's not going to happen. The funny thing happens when you actually let go the things that are holding you back, even if you don't realize those things are holding you back. Now I want to get to the point where I think most of the group will understand what I'm trying to tell them. So this has been cool for a few interviews where, you're trying to say something to the group, but you are the admin, the founder. So of course you're going to say that, but let's see if someone else backs it up. So without giving more context to this, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy I'm wrong, because I would learn something definitely valuable. What would be your approach? Let's take, for example, a restaurant. Okay, you are a marketer, an advertiser, and you need to get your first client locally. Okay, you don't want to spam, you don't want to send cold emails, you don't want to do any of that. You just want to do it face to face. How would you go into a restaurant and try to get them as a client? What would be, even if it's not on day one, if it's whatever would your approach be?
So the way I see my clients is I want to make sure they are awesome, because if I'm going to do the marketing and I'm going to have to market to other people to tell them how awesome they are, I'm going to go eat at that restaurant a couple of times. And I'm going to go on different days. I'm going to go see how it is. I'm going to go see how their staff treats the clients. I'm going to go see how the food is. Like, if I sit down at a restaurant and it should take 30 or 40 minutes for me to like eat and then leave, and I'm there for 3 hours because they don't have their shit together, I'm not like, I don't care what their reputation is or how much they can, like, I want to work with restaurants that are amazing. So I'm going to go check out their restaurant. I'm going to go see how the bathrooms are. I'm going to go like kind of look back into the kitchen, and I'm going to pay attention to how the people working there all treat each other. Now, let's say that we find a restaurant that is amazing. It's clean. The food's on point. The staff treats the customer across the board, treats the customers well. The staff all treat each other well, and it's all about quality for them. That means that the person who's running it, and probably the person who owns it, finds value in all of the same values that I do. Quality, timeliness, people treating each other with respect, right? We're here because our best interest is to serve our client's best interest, which means that it's amazing, it's good, it's fresh, it's clean, right? I'm going to go look for those kinds of things, and I'm going to do the thing I do. I'm going to build relationships, right? I'm going to be interested in the server that deals with me the first time. I'm going to check out how the hostess is dealing with seating people. I'm going to see how the bartenders pour the drinks. I'm going to start conversations with those people, and I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times over the course of a week or two. It doesn't take very long. And in one of those conversations, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. What kind of advertising do you guys do? How do you go about letting people in the neighborhood and beyond the town or the city know that you guys are so amazing, because this is amazing? And I'm going to get into that conversation. I'm going to find out who the manager is, right? Just by me being that interested in their shit, they're going to tell the manager. The manager's going to come over and say, "Man, I'm so glad you're having such an amazing time. This is why we do this." Did it? And now we're like buddies, and we're both excited, and we're both interested. And I'm going to ask a simple question. Man, I wish everybody knew about you guys. How do you advertise? Oh man, we don't do any of that. Really? Do you have any days where you could have more business? Like maybe there's not a wait for like an hour and a half? Well, yeah, right? Like everybody has that. What if it didn't have to be like that? Like, what if every day, 7 days a week or 6 days a week for lunch and dinner, there was a line down the street? Do you think you guys could handle that and still provide this kind of quality to those people? Oh my God, like that'd be amazing. What if we could do that? What do you mean? Well, that's what I do. And I think this is amazing. You guys fucking rock. That's exactly how I do it. And it takes 2 or 3 visits.
Yeah, I'm. Thank you, Landon. First of all, that's the reason why I honestly couldn't wait to get the group to the level where we could have this interview. It's definitely different from my from what I told people, especially because mostly they want volume. Even though I made up a really cool story about a guy with a weird name that reached success just because he didn't want everything fast and he went slow and easy. But this advice is definitely, I mean, I could see playing out perfectly because I thought, is there a restaurant where I go 2-3 times a month or 10 times a year that has this style of service? I'm like, yes, there are a few. Do they do advertising? No, they don't do advertising. Would I be able to close them this way? 100%. And this happens for everyone. Like I'm pretty sure that there is a restaurant. If you're looking for a client, which a restaurant, and the same analogy applies to a dentist. So the same thing applies to, I don't know, a grocery store, a bar, a club, whatever it is, a gym, a fit, CrossFit box, whatever it is, it applies the same way. And this is the easiest sale you can make. Like it's not, you don't even make the sale. That's exactly, I mean, you get to the point where you're just talking and like, hey man, why is it Tuesday? Why don't you have people on Tuesday? Well, I don't know, business is low. Are you doing anything to fix that Tuesday? No, not really. Well, look, that's what I do. Do you want me to try it? Do you want to check if this could work? Do we want to work together on this? And that becomes, that's a yes. I mean, if you build a relationship correctly and the guy remembers you and you haven't been a douche when you were at the club, at the restaurant or anything like that, and you genuinely care about that restaurant, you genuinely care about that business, it's going to be a client. It's definitely going to be a client. And as I said, if you're alone, working as a freelancer, you literally need 6 restaurants a month to manage as clients to live. That's it. Once you close one, just change restaurant, go eat out more, and put it as lead generation expenses. Mm-hmm. Because those actually are lead gen expenses. And you always think different, Landon. That's what I love. It's always a different approach, and that to me it's counterintuitive, which is not naturally counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive because we've been indoctrinated in another way. We've been told that sale is a different thing. We've been told that you need to convince people. You might need to convince people when you're selling a product, which is a t-shirt online, like you're selling a t-shirt. So you're convincing them that your product is good compared to the competition. Mm-hmm. But that's not what we are doing. Like you don't need to, if you need to convince them, it's not necessarily gonna be a long-term relationship. That's the same, that's as in dating. If you need to convince your partner that it's gonna be worth it, I don't know. I'm not sure that's going to last, but you probably do it for the sex the same way people don't do it for the money and the revenue they need on a monthly basis, but that's not going to be something that's going to last. So, thank you.
Yep. And here's the big takeaway in that I want everybody to really understand. I want to work with high quality. I want to work with people who actually give a damn. Right? If I'm selling websites, I'm not going to go find somebody that's got a shitty website from 1998 and try and convince them that you need to have this new amazing website. They don't give a shit about their website. I'm going to go find somebody that's got a pretty damn good website that's a little off or just a little like it needs refreshed. I'm going to go find somebody that actually cares about the thing that I want to help them with. Right? I'm not looking for a restaurant that, man, if they don't get customers in here in the next few weeks, they're going to go out of business. Like they don't have an advertising or a marketing problem. They've got other issues. I'm going to go find somebody who's doing really well and killing it, and I'm going to help them kill it more. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And this also goes to something that's kind of unrelated, but it fits the situation, which is You don't want to work with someone that's allocating 100% of their marketing budget on you. Like they have only that budget. Like if you want to get paid 5K and they have 5K, then it's going to be a problem just because you are their only, their last chance. You're their only hope. If you're working with someone that has a 50K marketing budget a month and they give you 5K, that's 10% of the marketing budget. You're not their last chance. You're not their only hope. You're just 10% of the marketing budget. And if a restaurant is doing print and magazines and all of that, and it's not doing digital, then that could be a good prospect. You know, they care about the marketing. They're just not, you know, in line with the times. Maybe the manager and the owner are the same person that's 64 years old. He just doesn't understand social. They just don't like it, and they don't know that it could be the next. It is the next big thing. It's the past big thing actually, but he doesn't realize it. So try to find for those type of clients. And I never looked at the fact that, yes, I mean, you don't want a client that about the web design. It's the first time I think about it, which makes me thank you, but makes total sense. I mean, if someone has everyone goes, web designer, go and look for the old 1998 website and say, hey man, you have a bad website. I'm going to make you a new one. You might actually close the sale, but you're going to ask for, like, they're going to pay $500 for something that you usually charge 2K, and you're going to say yes, because I mean, at the end of the day, you made all that effort to actually close them, and you're just going to do a bad job even if it's a good job, they don't understand it. So you're just going to sell something that you don't understand for a client you didn't want, for a client you're not going to retain. So yeah, that's thanks for the tips. I'm pretty sure everyone got more than the value they expected, even if I raised, the expectations of everyone, I assume, but I got the value I expected, more than the value I expected. I get to think in a different perspective about something, which is not something that happens often. And I'm really always happy when it happens, because you grow. That's the thing. And Landon, thank you for that. I'm pretty sure in the next few. I'm pretty sure we'll be in touch. Hopefully not like last time, but we do catch up every 3 to 4 months, which is nice. Anyhow, we're busy people, so it works. So thank you for everything. If you have, and I ask this to everyone, I've burned it for you, the lead magnet of the PDF, because I translated it and shared it, but. If you have anything else that you would like to share with our community, I'm more than happy to share it after the interview so that everyone can get the value. And of course, I'll share the Facebook group, even though 200 to 300 of our members are there. You have a small Italian mafia in your group, even if you didn't notice it. Maybe
that's awesome.
But they are there. So thank you so much for the interview, Landon. It was really eye-opening for me, and I'm pretty sure it was for everyone else. And looking forward to engaging more in the next few months.
Awesome. How about this? I will share my podcast. I do a podcast every Monday, and I think there's 49 or 50 episodes out now, and they're short. They're like 15 to 20 minutes, just like this, and you can get that at salesgorillapodcast.com.
Wait, is it just content that you put on the podcast? You don't take the content from the group and make it into the podcast?
No, it's completely different content.
Ooh, that I do know. salesgorillapodcast.com.
Yep.
Here we go.
Thanks, Federico. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us for a conversation for an hour. If you guys have any questions about anything that I talked about in this live now or in the future, tag me in it. Ask your question here and tag me in it. I'm in the group. I'll come back and answer the question. I don't speak Italian, so if you've got a question, either put it in English or get somebody to translate it. But I am happy to answer questions about this. My whole thing is, we all, regardless if somebody likes us or not, basically are good people, and we deserve to work with people that we like, and they deserve to be treated well in the sales process. So if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer them. And thanks for having me on today, Enrico. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it a lot more. Trust me, Landon, it was amazing. Thanks for the interview, brother.
You got it, Home Skillet.
Guys, have a good one.
Peace out, Cub Scouts.